I made a video not too long ago about how it was difficult for me to find resources and information on how those of us who come into making this amount of money recently, like within the past 2 to 3 years, new money, so to speak, or first gen individuals, how it's hard to find resources cater towards that group of people where you have the money, you just need to know what to do with the money, right? You're not looking for an extra $1,000, you're not looking for an extra $2,000. In fact, you have an extra $6,000, you have an extra $7,000, and you need to know how to use that money to maintain your lifestyle 20, 30 years down the line so that you don't end up broke, so that you don't end up poor like we so often see with a lot of athletes, with a lot of people who get signed $1 million contracts, and then 10 years down the line, you hear reports that they're poor, right? So if you haven't watched that video, maybe you want to go watch that video first. It'll be up here on the screen somewhere. It is called Being the First in Your Family to Make Over $200,000. Because this video, what we're actually going to do is be talking about some ways that I am making sure that my money is going towards things that will continuously pay me, right? Pay me down the line so that I'm not actively working forever and ever and ever. And also so that I don't end up poor, so that I don't end up broke, so that I do not squander the money that I'm making right now. The first thing that I am doing, and that anyone should be doing regardless of salary, if you have the means, is investing in the stock market, right? And so I recommend automating your investments so that every single month, every single paycheck, you have a set amount going out and going into your brokerage account. A question I get a lot here is, Sephora, what brokerage account should you use? And honestly, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what brokerage account you use. You open up a brokerage account, it is free to open and invest in that brokerage account. If you are interested, I personally use a couple of different brokerages. So I will tell you, I have Fidelity, which houses actually my main, which is my traditional. I also have Charles Schwab, which houses my Roth. And then I also have a Robinhood, and that's because Robinhood has crypto on it. And so those are the three that I have. You don't have to use those three. There's many others that you can use. The point is, make sure you have an account that you can go on, or you can automate investments. So every single time you're getting paid, have that money go into one of those investment accounts. Now, once the money is in the investment account, you actually have to invest it. So just getting it sent to the investment account is not enough. You actually have to go invest it. And here, this is where I recommend you are actually choosing your investments that you can have a return on. So generally the S&P 500, because over time, even yes, it outlasts stock market crashes, right? People are like, oh, but the market's gonna crash. Yes, it might crash, but then it's gonna rebound, okay? So over time, this is long-term investing. You're not investing here so that you can take it out a month later or 2 months later and try to make money off it. What you are doing here is you are relying on compound interest, right? You're relying on compound interest so that 20, 30 years down the line, your $200,000 investments can have an 8 to 10% return, whatever it may be. And so that compound interest is compounding, and 20, 30 years down the line, I don't know the exact math off the top of my head, but you're a millionaire, right? You're a millionaire because of that compound interest. And that's why you want to make sure that you are automating those investments every single month. So definitely recommend the S&P 500, but you also can diversify, right? You have the money to diversify, especially if you're making multiple six figures. So a couple options here is completely up to you. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and what you should definitely be considering doing with your money to make sure that it makes money for you, right? Because when you're thinking about passive income, once you invest that money, you don't have to do anything to it. Compound interest does all the work for you. But so you also can consider diversifying. So you can invest in individual stocks in addition to the S&P 500, right? You can invest in some of your favorite stocks. So I like Apple, I like Google, I like Amazon, Nvidia, right? So those are also like individual stocks that I invest in addition to the S&P 500 every single time that I am getting paid. And then again, this is just something that you are doing for the long term. It's not, I'm gonna take this out in 6 months. It's not, I'm gonna take this out in 8 months or whatever. It is long term, basically until you're ready to retire so that you can live off of this. Another way to diversify is some people really like stocks that pay dividends. And so that just means essentially you are actually getting money in the form of dividends for that stock that you are investing in. So, right, tons of options there, tons of different things that you can choose from. But first and foremost, I wanted to start off with investing in the stock market, because all of us should be investing in the stock market so that we don't end up in a position where it is 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line and you are making all this money, $300,000 plus, but then you're broke because you're no longer working in that job. You left that job, whatever it may be, and you're 50, 60 years old and you don't have any money. The stock market, invest in the stock market every single month so that you don't end up in that position. Some other investment opportunities for you is like art, gold, real estate. There's literally so many different ways for you to go about it. So how you choose to do that is completely up to you, but just make sure that you are doing that. The next thing that everyone should be doing, or at least considering doing, you really don't have to if you don't want to, but personally for me, I am just in love with real estate. I feel like I've always had a little bit of real estate interest in me. I even at one point was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna practice real estate law. Spoiler, it's not what you might think it is. But real estate, right? So investing in real estate, for me, that looks like investment properties. I've talked about this before, but what I am doing, what I'm interested in doing is house hacking. So instead of going out and buying my first multi-million-dollar home, I am instead looking to buy a $1 million investment property, live in it for a year, rent out the other units, and then keep doing that house hacking process essentially until I'm ready to settle down. Because what that is doing for you is you will literally have tenants who live in these buildings who cover the mortgage, and ideally you're also getting paid, so passive income, because the income that they are bringing in is more than enough and extra to cover the mortgage. So I know this in abstract, it may sound like a little bit like crazy, but so let me explain it. If you buy a 4-unit building, right, and you have 4 tenants living in that 4-unit building, and each tenant is paying, just to keep it simple, each tenant is paying $1,000 in rent. That's $4,000. And let's just say, just for this purpose of the example, the mortgage is $2,000. So 2 of those tenants would cover the price of the mortgage. The other $2,000 would come to you to pocket, right? And so obviously that's a smaller example, because if you're buying $1 million property, unless you really put like a huge down payment, your mortgage is not likely to be that $2,000. That was just purpose of the example. But anyway, imagine you're doing that for multiple different properties. Over time, you're going to be reeling in this passive income from your real estate investment portfolio. And that's something that I am planning to do. That's something that I'm very interested in doing. And again, that's because that is something that, if you want it to be, can be low work or low, like it doesn't require active energy on your part, because you can hire a property manager to manage the properties for you. You can hire someone to do all of the work for you. Of course, if you want to, and if you have the time and if you find it fun, you can manage it yourself. You can do any work that needs to be done, but pretty much you can outsource a lot of that work, and it can truly be a passive income source for you through this house hacking or through investment properties, right? And what I would also recommend here is making sure that you have a nice cushion, right? So for your personal, you have your personal emergency savings. You should also have a similar thing for each investment property, just in case like you can't rent out the rooms or apartments for some reason, or if something like the water heater breaks or whatever breaks and you have to pay to get it fixed, because remember that you are a landlord, and so it's your responsibility to do those things. So once that nest egg is saved up, then really you'll be able to definitely start reeling in some passive income from your real estate. The other thing that you can think about doing if you're making a large salary is buying businesses or investing in businesses, right? And here I mean investing in startup companies. So there are some business owners that I know who actually make their living off of this process, or make a good amount of money off of this process, right? Buying old businesses and then kind of reworking those businesses, putting in new programs, putting in, efficient modern day 2025 stuff that makes it more profitable. And then they turn a profit and they either keep the business and keep the profit, or they then sell the newly improved business, right? The other opportunity that I mentioned that I see a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners doing is investing in startup companies, right? So a lot of these startup companies are looking for investors, and if you see one that you think has a lot of potential and you've done your due diligence, and of course through all of this you should really be doing your due diligence regardless, I feel like that goes without saying, but making sure that you've done your due diligence, then saying like, hey, like I believe in this company, I believe in what they're doing, and I think that this is going to be a fantastic company to invest in, and I know that a couple years down the line I'm going to see a huge return on my investment, right? So these are some ways or some things you can think about putting your money so that down the line you're seeing returns, you're seeing huge returns potentially, you're seeing passive income coming in so that your money isn't just kind of sitting or isn't just going to all depreciating assets, right? So different types of things like that that are going to constantly be paying you. And that's how you should kind of think about spending your money, especially when you have a large sum of extra money. Don't just go out and, squander it. The other thing that you should be doing that surprisingly to me, a lot of people don't do is you should make sure you have a Roth IRA. So I talked about this at the beginning that I have mine with Charles Schwab, and essentially a Roth IRA is a retirement account. And if you're watching this video, or even if you don't fit in this category and you're watching the video, you should still have one, but you may have to use the backdoor Roth IRA because there is an income cap. And so if you're making over 200,000, over 300,000, the income cap is actually lower than that, but this is kind of who this video is catered to, you are going to need to use the backdoor Roth IRA process in order to invest in a Roth IRA. But it's a retirement account that you will be able to withdraw funds from at retirement tax-free, right? Tax-free. So you want to make sure that you are fully maxing out or fully investing all that you can in your Roth IRA every single year. So in 2024, that was $7,000. And also in 2025, that is $7,000. Okay. So if you're under the income threshold, it's $146,000 if you are a single adjusted gross income for a single filer. It's $146,000. So if you are over that, you will need to use the back door. But either way, making sure that you are investing in your Roth IRA because that's tax-free money that you could become a millionaire with, or at least have $1 million or more, right, put away, depending on how old you are, of course, right? Those different calculations do matter. Put away for when you're ready to retire so you're not broke. And so you're putting your money to good use. So making sure that you are doing that. The next thing is making sure that you are taking advantage of your employer's 401k, especially if your employer has a match program. Guys, use the match. That is free money. That is free money. You should be using your employer's match, right? So whatever they tell you the max is for that match, contribute up to that max, okay? Contribute up to that max, making sure you are doing that. That's free money that you're getting from your employer that is going away to retirement. The next idea I have for you guys is not one that I think you have to do or even need to do. It's completely up to you, but essentially if you wanted to create another passive income source, you could consider looking into different side hustles or different businesses or something that's going to allow you to build a passive income source or a separate income source from your main income, and all of that money from your income can go towards all of those things that I just discussed. Obviously, that's just a little like, yeah, you can if you want to, but you don't have to, right? But then you have all this money over here, keep it for yourself. You have all this money over here, goes towards all of your investments. And when you're looking at it that way too, it's like, oh, this money is my play money, right? So that's just another thing that you can consider doing if you want to do it. You do not have to. Trust me, you do not have to, especially if you're in a high stress, high paying job already. But a lot of you guys, you probably have hobbies, you probably have things that you do for fun. Like if you start a podcast, like you can monetize podcasts nowadays. Not saying that you have to, right? So just thinking about different things that you already do and would continue to do, even if you didn't get money, but would happily be paid for it, right? And then saying, okay, like maybe I can just take this and put it to my investments or put this aside. Like understanding essentially that you don't have to spend every single thing that you get, right? So making sure that you are living below your means and not saying, well, I have this extra $10,000. Let me go spend it all on clothes. when you know that in the 3 months you're going to buy some new clothes anyway. Essentially, that's what I'm saying here. I hope this video helps and it gives you some ideas on what you can and should be in the cases of investing in the stock market with a large salary, so that you can start thinking about your future long term, so that you don't have to work for the rest of your life and you can still maintain the lifestyle you are currently living or the lifestyle you are aspiring to. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media at Sephora Gray Esquire, that's ESQ for short. Comment down below anything that you think or you learned from this video that you plan to implement that you aren't already doing, or anything else you guys would like for me to make videos on, and I will see you on my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.